vapor, this. That's it.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVMTV.
So much more than entertainment.
Tune in to Lead Story. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jodi-Ann Quarry.
Brought to you by
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Lead Story, brought to you by
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, inside Lead Story, Jamaica confronts a series of stress tests of power, protection, and priority. As clinics strain under what doctors and, well, their patients are calling a bad flu season, we also bring you critical public health guidance, including warnings about medications and rising dengue threats. We also check in with the doctors as they continue to raise the alarm about their working conditions. Then, as tourism pushes towards winter recovery after Hurricane Melissa, we ask a hard question. How does a country balance foreign exchange earnings with the reality that thousands of Jamaicans remain displaced? This is Lead Story. Clinics across the island are reporting heavy patient loads with what doctors are calling a particularly severe flu season. And you've seen it, people getting sick, missing work, and generally complaining about feeling absolutely crummy. But this is complicated by rising dengue cases as we are in the middle of the peak of dengue season. So, to help us figure out what's going on, we're joined by the president of the Medical Association of Jamaica, Professor Marvin Reed. Professor Reed, thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Good evening, and my pleasure.
It's so important that you spend the time to talk to us about this, because we're dealing with a situation that people have said they haven't seen in a while. And this flu season for them feels particularly bad. Is that something that medical doctors are also saying as well?
Sure, and the truth be told, it's not a Jamaican experience alone. Many of our neighbors in North America, as well as in Europe, are also reporting that the flu season so far has not been very kind.
What makes this flu season then different? Because Jamaicans keep hearing about a bad flu. Clinically then, what makes this season different from others, both here and abroad?
All right, so first, let us make sure that we're speaking about the same thing. So typically, you may have experienced what we call symptoms like sneezing and coughing and a little sore throat and stuff like that. And most persons, when they have those symptoms, will think or believe that they have the flu. For many of us, flu really refers to a specific illness caused by the influenza virus. And because many of the symptoms are the same, it's not surprising that a lot of us think that once we have a little sniffling and cough, that we're having flu. But technically speaking, flu really refers to infections caused by the influenza virus. Now, the thing with these infections is that they often can cause progress and cause great degree of illnesses such as a pneumonia, infections, what we call sepsis, and individuals can actually die from having an influenza infection. And so the challenge we face a lot of times is really to try to distinguish those individuals who really just have flu-like illnesses from those individuals who really and truly have the severe form of the illness or flu-like or flu illness. Typically, the way to do it is really through laboratory testing. But the truth is that many of us do not do the laboratory testing because of challenges that we may face in terms of doing it.
What kind of challenges are you talking about, Professor Reed? Because we're looking at a time post-COVID-19 where many people would have been now exposed to lab testing to find the variant of what it is that they had. What makes it different now that persons might not be able to get that test done or might not opt to do it?
Well, oftentimes they may not opt to do it because I'm sure if I saw you in the office now and says, okay, let's just do a nasal swab, you may say, no, doc, I'm not.
Listen, I've had that, my brain touched already with these swabs because of COVID-19 and travel. I don't like it. It feels incredibly uncomfortable. But given how bad this flu is and people trying to figure out if it's a new variant of H1N1 or influenza A or something more serious like it's another strain of COVID, Professor Reed, I might just let you swab me to find out.
Well, you'd be one of my good patients. But the truth be told, yes. So you did mention in your introductory remarks about surveillance. And so as part of surveillance, so surveillance really means that you're setting up some systems where you can try to detect what is out there. And in the public health system, what they will do is that they would say, okay, every 10th person or every so many persons who come in with flu-like symptoms, we will test them. We will ask their permission, but we will actually go ahead and aggressively test them. And so that is how we have an indication as to what it is that is prevalent in the system through what we call our surveillance measures. But having said that, the truth be told is that many viruses that cause respiratory symptoms, they tend to present the same way, in that you'll have a bit of a fever, you'll have some aches and pains, usually muscle pain, you'll feel very weak and listless, you don't want to really to go out of your house. Some of them will have severe sore throat, they will cough, and some may even have problems in terms of breathing. And so the truth be told is that many of these symptoms you will have to treat them what we call symptomatically, because for viruses itself, we really don't have that, many of them, we don't have medications for them. For the flu, we do have a medication for that specifically, but the best method or the best approach to treating individuals with flu-like symptoms is really my favorite vitamin, which is vitamin R.
What's vitamin R, Doc?
Rest.
Rest. Well, you know, I have to check and see. We need to rest. You're pushing people then, if they're feeling these symptoms, to go ahead and rest. But as you spoke about some of the symptoms that they might be dealing with, they're also going to be feeling those aches and pains, as you said, and they're going to want to be taking things now to help alleviate those symptoms. Given then that we're watching the flu, we're also watching what could be other things like dengue during this time. What is it that you're telling people now to take? You can't figure out, because you said all of these things present similarly. What is it then that you're telling people to take, and what are you telling them not to take?
Oh, sure. So Jamaica has what we call endemic dengue, which basically means that dengue is within the country. So there are periods in which the numbers are going to go up, and there are periods in which the numbers are going to be low. And so because of that, and because dengue in particular is also a viral infection, the thing about it is that the symptoms will be roughly the same. You'll have aches and pains, fever. But some of the characteristics of dengue is that the pains that you have tends to be a little bit more severe, especially in the back and in the head. But the truth be told, in the early phases, it's very difficult to distinguish. And so within that context, what we say is that we're going to treat your symptoms or treat you based on your symptoms. And so for the fever, we're usually going to tell you to use antipyretics or drugs to reduce fever. And we're going to tell you to stick to acetaminophen or cetamol or Panadol, to use a couple of brand names. And we're going to tell you not to take things that are other NSAIDs, like aspirin-related medications, like
no Advil, no Aleve. None of those. So you're sticking to Panadol, you're sticking to Cetamol, you're sticking to Benjamin's, for example, might have something, pharma cold and flu, things that have this acetaminophen or paracetamol that we call it here. That is what you're taking, only that during this time.
Right. And the reason for that is that the NSAIDs, or like there's the cataflums and so on, and the Advils and so on, they may increase the chance that you have a bleeding episode. So if you have dengue, there's a risk that you will have one of the symptoms is bleeding in the skin, bleeding in the tissues. And so if you take the cataflum and so on, you will increase that risk. And so the safest thing to do when you have these kinds of symptoms in the Jamaican context is to stick to the acetaminophen related products. Now, you mentioned some of the multi-symptoms and so on. Generally speaking, I tend not to like to use multi-symptom things, mainly because some of those things, if you have a chronic disease, for example, like high blood pressure or diabetes and so on, some of those ingredients may not do well with you. And so I tend to prefer the pure products.
And with a population that has a large number of non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, they have to be very careful, that community, in what they take. That is correct. Okay.
Yes, I prefer you take the pure medications.
Right.
So rest, your lots of fluids, your vitamins, and for some of the respiratory symptoms, and a simple antihistamine preferably would work. So that's your DPH, your Claritine, or your Allegro, or any one of those kinds of antihistamines you can actually take. Those are usually things that we would recommend.
All right. For somebody listening right now, though, Prof, they're listening to you and they're saying, hey, he went through the list of things. I have that list of things, or my child has that list of things. I know he's saying that I must take Panadol or Cetamol, paracetamol, acetaminophen, and the more basic form is what he would recommend. But right now, I just need to go to work or to school. I can't take the rest that he's recommending. What do you say to people right now who feel themselves coming down with these symptoms or have family members and friends who are dealing with it? What do you say to them to do?
Well, the truth is, if you're going to be working or going to a school scenario, the truth is that you really shouldn't, because the risk is that you will be spreading the illness, and therefore, instead of just you alone being sick, you'll have a whole classroom of individuals being sick, or a whole workplace being sick. So the general recommendation is that if you're feeling symptomatic, you really best stay home. If you must, then this is where using a mask is very helpful. Because you will tend to reduce the possibility of you transmitting the illness, because it goes through respiratory droplets and so on to other individuals. So that would be the recommendation. Ideally, stay home, but if you must, then you need to ideally wear a mask. And of course, the COVID lessons still are in force, which basically means that you have to wash your hands, you have to practice proper hygiene in terms of when you're coughing or sneezing. All of those things are still important and relevant.
I think it's so important that you have said that that's what we're going to be looking at during this flu season, as we also deal with dengue as well. Stay with us, Professor Marvin Reed, as president of the Medical Association of Jamaica. After the break, we're going to talk now about the conditions of doctors alongside
If you're a woman in business, it's time to go bigger.
Your ambition is calling, and Horizon for Women in Business is answering.
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services designed for women entrepreneurs to unlock the capital you need to grow and take your business beyond limits. With quick approval, flexible repayment, and low interest rates, your success is on the horizon.
Call us now. The funds are waiting.
Your success is on the horizon.
Go buy your Miracle Fire Rub for all arthritis, pain, swelling, poor circulation, numbness, inflammation, cold and flu, stroke, stiffness, sprains, strain, boils, insects, bites, and menstrual discomforts. Miracle Fire Rub, available at King Street Pharmacy, 72.5 King Street, downtown Kingston, Case Pharmacy, Duhaney Park Plaza, Kingston and Fontana Pharmacies nationwide, and March Pharmacy, downtown Kingston. Miracle Fire Rub. Rub it on, the pain is gone, gone, gone.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Stir fry them, do the work, the donate work, then you run, and then you run, and then you wheel and come in, then you donate to educate. Donate to rebuild the school. Donate, whether small, whether big, anything at all you can donate. Come out of your pocket, come out of your wallet. We need all of the donations now. Ding dong, ravers, Sagitore, register.
Be with us inside Lead Story. We're continuing the conversation, and with us is Professor Marvin Reed, President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, and joining us in this part of the conversation is the President of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, Dr. Renee Badro. Dr. Badro, let me start off first with you because we are having a conversation about the flu, dengue, and the situation now facing many Jamaicans as they feel ill. Are doctors and nurses also coming down with the flu or dengue or anything else that's going around at this time?
Yes, we do have quite a few doctors who have been complaining of a viral illness for the past couple of days to weeks. So we do have quite a few of our members. They have not been turning to work because of this illness that's going around.
I think that's important to highlight for Jamaicans as well, because Professor Marvin Reed from the MAJ, you spent a lot of time talking to us about what Jamaicans should do, and ordinary Jamaicans are listening to what you're saying. But Dr. Renee Badro is now saying medical professionals as well, doctors and nurses, are coming down with this illness. What does it mean for healthcare in Jamaica that our precious doctors and our precious nurses now have to themselves make sure that they're fit and proper and safe and healthy before they take care of the nation's ill?
Well, the truth be told, there are a few preventive measures that we can take and we encourage our members to do, and as well as members of the Jamaican populations. So with respect to flu itself, one of the options that you have is to take the vaccine, the flu vaccine, which most of us will do sometime about November. No, the vaccine itself.
So what does Tamiflu do? It makes it shorter?
Tamiflu is actually a drug that we use to treat severe flu infections.
So that then helps persons who are in the middle of it then to recover much faster. And you also want people to be taking their vaccines. All right, with that then said, Dr. Renee Badro, you've made it very clear our doctors are sick, our nurses are getting sick. And Professor Reed has said the precautions he's given us are precautions that are applicable to everybody. But even as they're sick, Dr. Badro, you're also having a membership that is, some might say, restive, given work conditions that they have complained of. We are at a situation now where doctors and nurses have protested over patient safety and staffing shortages at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. Are these concerns isolated to Cornwall Regional, or are they part of a wider national health system problem?
So they're not isolated to Cornwall Regional Hospital. I just believe what happened at Cornwall was just the straw that broke the camel's back. We have several institutions that are experiencing the overcrowding as well as the increased levels of staff. So it's not isolated to Cornwall, but I believe this was the straw that broke the camel's back for Cornwall. They have been wanting and desirous of going into the new building for a very long while now. So I do understand their frustration.
That frustration, you said, is not limited to Cornwall Regional. Are we then at a situation where other hospitals might themselves go out to protest the situations that they're facing?
Let's put it this way. The doctors are willing to do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary for our patients to be protected and to be cared for with dignity. As to our next steps, we have a meeting with the minister that should be scheduled for next week, and we'll be discussing our issues with him with regards to the other locations as well as what's happening with Cornwall.
Hospital management has said that 127 new beds will be delivered within weeks, with up to 100 more from a field hospital. And we spoke here inside Lead Story with Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, about some of the plans that will be put in place. But the Nurses Association of Jamaica president said to us these conditions predated Hurricane Melissa. In your view, then, with all the concerns that have been raised, will beds alone fix the crisis?
Beds are part of the crisis, but they're not the only part, and they're not the only component of this crisis. Before Melissa, there was a problem with bed space. After Melissa, there is still a problem with bed space. I think what the patients in the West deserve and what our staff and our healthcare doctors and other members of staff deserve is that we need Cornwall Regional Hospital, which is the only type A hospital in the West, to be fully functioning, to be able to accept and receive patients comfortably and also with dignity. So we need to just have Cornwall fixed.
What is a type A hospital, and why does it matter that Cornwall Regional is the only one of its type in the West?
A type A hospital is one of the superior types of hospital that allows for all the various services and subspecialties within the health sector. Another type A hospital in the public health system is, for example, Kingston Public Hospital. The University Hospital of the West Indies is also another example. So in a type A hospital, you'd have specialties such as ophthalmology, plastic surgery, as well as orthopedics. So it's not just general medicine and general surgery and an accident and emergency department, but a hospital that is replete with all the medical services Jamaica can provide.
All right, Professor Marvin Reed, you're hearing your partner association there, the JMDA, talk about the conditions that doctors and nurses are now facing. But as we look at this surge now, an identifiable surge that we've been able to report of the numbers of individuals who are now going to hospitals because of the respiratory illnesses, because of these flu-like symptoms and the others, how much of the problem that we're seeing in our healthcare system is infrastructure, and how much is it human resources, doctors, nurses, and support staff, especially as they have to deal with now more people coming to them?
Sure. So Jamaica health system basically is in the midst of what we call a restructuring, because one of the key problems that we have identified over the years is really a capacity issue. So even without any stress, without an infectious outbreak, epidemics, or Melissa or anything, we always were under-resourced from an infrastructural standpoint. And then that was compounded by the fact that we also had a workforce issue, because many of our professionals, especially in the nursing and other supports, usually migrate. So we have always had a capacity of mismatch between what is required and what is available. So the truth be told is that the only solution is really to ramp up or build the capacity. And that capacity includes building more facilities, as well as ensuring that more of the persons that we train for the health system actually remain within the system. Now, having said that, how do we deal with this, what we call relatively new crisis, or this relatively new stress, which is the bad flu or infectious related diseases which occurs at this time. And flu is not the only thing that occurs at this time as well. Usually this is also the peak season for us to have diarrheal diseases as well. So especially in our kids, this is the time in which they will present a lot with gastroenteritis or diarrhea. So the truth be told is two things. One is to congratulate you, to highlight this issue so we could get the public health messages out so we can try and prevent individuals from actually acquiring them in the first place. The second part about it is also to provide or empower individuals to manage these things either at home or in what we call the primary care settings, either at the public health system, the public health clinics, or at the private physician, and reserve visits to the hospitals for the very serious cases, because a lot of times or accidents and emergencies are overwhelmed by treating these relatively minor cases, not so severe, and that puts an added stress on the health system. So those are the short-term solutions. The long-term solutions really revolve around us building out the bed capacity, building out the infrastructure across the island.
A serious concern then that you're raising, not only for those who are going to healthcare facilities, and you're highlighting, don't overwhelm the already overwhelmed system if you don't have to. Treat yourself at home. You told us the tablets and things to take that can alleviate some of those symptoms, but we're also looking at protecting our doctors and nurses. But Dr. Badro, given the situation that we're at, where we have chronic overcrowding in some facilities, you have doctors and nurses tired, so tired in fact, that they are now willing to protest in order to do, as you said, improve the situations of both healthcare workers as well as those patients. How concerned is the JMDA about burnout and attrition among healthcare workers, not only at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, but also other major hospitals as they deal with all of this all at once?
The JMDA is very concerned about burnout. I had in previous interviews spoken about the Mandeville Regional Hospital and the workload that the doctors there and the nurses as well have to deal with. And we said, we had a meeting with the region and we said that this is untenable and it can't continue. You can't have a doctor, one of my doctors saying to me, boy, Renee, I worked 56 hours straight. It's unimaginable, and it's, especially with all that's happening with Mandeville, I just believe that it's untenable and it can't continue. With regards to the attrition of the medical fraternity, we're losing doctors, nurses, and this even goes beyond doctors and nurses. We also have teachers that we're losing as well. I believe that we need to, as a nation, really sit back and take a look, be introspective, and to figure out why is it our brightest and our best are leaving? Why is our attrition rate so high? What policies or what lack of policies is causing this level of attrition? We're losing our people. We're losing the children of the soil. We're losing the persons that can very well help in the development of Jamaica. So we, as a fraternity, recognize the attrition rate. We understand it, especially because sometimes doctors don't get jobs, even though they are jobs.
Because I was going to ask you about the unemployment, because you not only have attrition, you also have doctors saying I can't get employed. So we need to pick a struggle, it seems, as a country.
Yes, that is correct. We need to fix what is happening with regards to employment, and just get rid of this bureaucracy, do what needs to be done, and let's retain our people to develop our country and to make Jamaica a healthy and better one.
Quickly for you, what's your message to the government of Jamaica, given the concerns that you're raising?
We ask the government to be transparent and to know, especially the Ministry of Health, to know that as a JMD, we are willing to work and to help offer solutions, just if you involve us in the conversations. And you will just include us in and all the relevant stakeholders in it. We are willing to work to help develop this country.
I think that's important for the nation to hear. That was a comprehensive conversation, not only about flu and how to keep yourself safe, but also what our doctors and our nurses are facing as they treat this nation. President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, Professor Marvin Breed, and President of the Jamaican Medical Doctors Association, Dr. Renee Badro, thank you so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thank you so much.
An important message there for you all. We've been hearing about this bad flu. We've been hearing about what's going on. We wanted to make sure that you stayed safe. But we take a break and come back to you because we talked about your health and wellness. Next, we're talking about tourism because we're into the winter tourist season. How have we been recovering after Hurricane Melissa and
If you're a woman in business, it's time to go bigger.
Your ambition is calling, and Horizon for Women in Business is answering.
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services designed for women entrepreneurs to unlock the capital you need to grow and take your business beyond limits with quick approval, flexible repayment, and low interest rates. Your success is on the horizon.
Call us now. The funds are waiting.
Your success is on the horizon.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Hi, I'm Landy. Welcome to NLA Connect, the National Land Agency's customer engagement platform. NLA Connect is a simple, user-friendly platform designed to help you share your feedback, get support, and updates about land-related matters. Available 24/7, NLA Connect allows you to share suggestions, comments, and commendations, submit queries and report issues, attach files with your requests, track requests and get real-time status updates, connect with NLA client engagement officers, and provide feedback on the service received via the platform. We're making it easier for you to connect with us. You can access NLA Connect via our website, using the kiosk at any of our offices or scanning the QR code displayed at our locations. Need any help along the way? Check out our FAQs section. It has all the answers you need in one location. NLA Connect, your voice, our priority.
Jamaica is a major tourism destination, and we had hit a huge snag last year. But as Jamaica pushes into the winter tourist season, the country is still living with the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. With us is Christopher Jarrett, President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, telling us where we are, what's going on, and helping us see how we might have been able to recover if we've been able to recover after the passage of Hurricane Melissa. President Jarrett, thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Important man to talk to at a time like this. Winter tourist season is well underway, and Jamaicans who might have their own feelings about tourism still want it to work. So talk to us about where we are, because the sector is said to be about 71% ready. Does that mean in real terms, and have we passed that?
It's a little uneven, if I could term it that way. As you may know, there are several larger properties that have given us timelines way into the end of summer before they'll be back on track. But there are others, particularly the EP, European Plan properties, and non-all-inclusives, have been ready since perhaps 4 weeks or so following the hurricane. So we have been seeing fair to very good occupancies, considering everything. I think people have recognized that the resilience that we keep talking about with respect to the Jamaican spirit is alive and well, and that we continue to be as ready as we could be. I think we're seeing particularly on the hip strip, we're seeing occupancies of 80% and higher. And I think part of that might be attributable to the fact that the there's a fair shortage of hotel rooms at this time.
All right, that shortage of hotel rooms is something we'll talk about in a moment, but you have all of a sudden now become fuzzy as we've spoken to you, and you're not in focus for us as your camera has rotated while you're speaking with us. So we're hearing you clearly. There we go. We're hearing you clearly. We're not seeing you clearly. Still though, sideways. I know. We're going to solve that as you speak to us and have that rectified, but your auto rotate has now chipped in, and that means that it is messing with us being able to talk to you. Flip your phone again to the side. Let's see if we can have that resolved. There we go. And continue to speak with you in your capacity as president of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association. You talked about the areas that are operational. Talk to us about which regions are most operational and which ones are still struggling.
I think Montego Bay has been the poster child. We that on this side have I think rebounded faster than anybody else anywhere with respect to this type of storm, this category of storm. We were able to get Dunn's River up in just several weeks. I think it was about 3 weeks post hurricane, and visitors were out experiencing the falls. We also had Doctor's Cave open within the 3 weeks. So Montego Bay, I think, has been doing extremely well, and particularly on the hip strip, there are positive reports with respect to the occupancies being as I said before, 80 and above in percentage.
That's your poster child, but let me take a look at your poster child first before I move to other areas of the country, because there are still reports, especially from the Ministry of Tourism, saying that about 1,000 hotel rooms remain closed in the Montego Bay area. What's the real impact of those closures, even as you've been able to put things up 2, 3, 4 weeks after a massive hurricane of those hotel rooms being closed on jobs, earnings, and community livelihoods?
Well, I think the focus has always been to get keep the economic drivers moving, and to that extent, we can't be responsible for those hotels who have decided that they're going to do major refurbishing, and to that extent, they will be opening a little later than we would have all preferred. But I think that the slack, if there is, would be taken up. And it's being taken up from the Airbnb space that much has been talked about, of which much has been talked about in recent times. And so we want to focus on the ability to deliver rather than the lapse that we're seeing. So we are continuing with our, through JTB and our other partners and stakeholders, looking at the avenues and the methods that we're going to focus on with respect to our marketing. As you may know, we have recently moved from level 3 to level 2, which
and
is
that's
also
a U.S. designation now as to the travel safety of this destination post Hurricane Melissa, and going up means better. So moving from level 3 to level 2 was a thing that tourism interests were very happy to have seen.
Yes, like from a C to a B plus. So
that's a significant movement, though.
Yes, and so we're proud of that. Our partners and stakeholders like the JCF have been, in our opinion, doing an excellent job. And violent crime is down, murders are down, and so on. So if we continue on that trend, it presents well for the country. And for the tourism and hospitality sector in general.
I think it's so important that you spoke about partnerships, because you spoke about the Jamaica Tourist Board, the JTB, and then going out, continuing to pull people to Destination Jamaica, and then the knowledge that the work that happens that benefits ordinary Jamaicans from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the police, is also something that you can boast about as you now have that improvement in status from the U.S. State Department. So that's certainly something that we have to look forward to as well. But while we move from the poster child, Montego Bay, and the recovery there, talk to us about other areas in the country that have not rebounded as quickly post Hurricane Melissa.
Well, as we all know, St. Elizabeth is still struggling. We made, I think, Minister Seabright earlier this morning at a different event made note of the fact that the electricity and water supplies are at 90 and 95% island-wide. So we are mindful of the fact that there's still some work to be done. From our perspective, though, the JHDA, we're trying to stay again focused on the areas that we can deliver, where we can deliver, because everybody knows that there's still some struggle with respect to getting the infrastructures in place in St. Elizabeth in particular. But we are focusing on the baby steps, if you will. So as soon as we can get all of the basics with respect to the water, light, and let's say shelter and safety, because that is also an integral part, then I think we're well on our way. So we have some challenges still. We recognize that it's going to be a while before St. Elizabeth can get back on board, but there are places like Jake's and so on who have already recovered and are doing their national and international marketing. So I think we generally are on good footing here.
Talking about that rebuilding is going to be very important for the weeks and months to come, especially as it's not just tourism that's been impacted in some of the hardest hit areas in the West, like St. Elizabeth, but also the lives of individuals. What are some of the main bottlenecks now to getting that infrastructure up and running? Is it skilled labor shortages, financing, bureaucratic delays, or perhaps a combination of all the above?
Well, I want to speak to that, but I want to just make a note. You mentioned the workers and or human resources.
No, I'm going into the workers by themselves. Yes, don't worry. Okay. Hello, President. The workers are on my mind. I'm going to deep dive. So you're going to be sorry that you're asking about the workers. Hold on. Let me find out how the sector is recovering first, because when I ask about the workers, it's within the context and against a backdrop of that sector recovery, while those people who are part of the sector are also dealing with their own challenges at this time. But talk to me about infrastructure. Is it backlog, bureaucratic delays? Is it labor shortages that is going to now be some of the bottlenecks that we have to deal with over the coming weeks and months to get these areas that are not up and running back up and running?
I don't think it's a labor shortage is what I would name that as one of the factors. I would say, again, and I don't want to seem to be going in a circle, but we were, somebody recently was making a comparison with some other island, I don't remember, Dominica, and how it took them 12 months to recover from the last hurricane. And I think we have, so I mean, we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much. I think we have recovered 95% in less than 6 months. So I think it's something to be proud of. The former president of the United States was visiting us recently and noted that he had
Which former president is that? Former President Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton. And said that he had never seen anywhere the sort of resilience and recovery that we have happened to have achieved in such a short period.
You've been also praised by the United Nations Tourism, where they've named Jamaica a tourism resilience hub of the world. What does that mean for hotel operators and investor confidence as you're looking at now getting these kudos from these various organizations and people?
Well, we have a good team leader in Minister Bartlett, and he has been really pounding the pavement, trying to get look at new routes, look at and this resilience team that we have had, this task force has been relentless. We've throughout this whole experience have been meeting night, morning, noon, and night, as they say. There have been several stakeholders involved, and what we did was bring people together whose decision making would not meet this bureaucracy that you mentioned earlier, and so that if it was a decision where a property such and such part of the island needed power because we want to drive the economic.
You were able to then pull the people together and get these sorts of things done. Certainly it bodes well for the tourism sector that you're able to make those sorts of moves. But we're taking a break and coming back to you, talking about the lifeblood of the sector. It's the people who work in it. And so we'll be talking about them and the support.
The National Rural School Bus Program is getting smarter. With your child's student ID card, parents receive real-time notifications every time they board or exit the bus. Each card is unique and securely linked to the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information database. Tap on, tap off, and parents stay updated instantly. So, how do you register? Number 1. Visit jamaica-district.mysmartterm.com/bus-portal/registration. Number 2. Enter your child's details. Number 3. Upload supporting documents. Number 4. Submit your application. It's that easy. Safer, smarter, more secure. Register today and ride with peace of mind.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVMTV.
So much more than entertainment.
Just staying with us inside Lead Story. We have been talking about hotels and tourism here as we look at the tourism recovery that we've been able to make after not only Hurricane Beryl the year before, but Hurricane Melissa last year. But this industry has been significantly impacted, but also bouncing back in incredible ways. However, while the economic numbers continue to improve, the plight of tourism workers and other citizens is now in the spotlight. With us, we have President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Christopher Jarrett. Christopher Jarrett, while the sector is 71% ready for tourists, and we've been able to talk about all the improvements, the kudos, everybody saying good things, unfortunately, the reality is that thousands of Jamaicans remain displaced by Hurricane Melissa. And they're looking at these hotel rooms and they're looking at some of these places and saying, why can't a JHTA come with a specific percentage of ready rooms to house displaced citizens? Well, until permanent housing is restored. Talk to us about that, because people are looking at these places and saying, that could be my shelter in the meantime.
Well, that's some of that is happening, which is why I was happy to speak about it too, because there are several hotels. Some prefer to be unnamed, and so I won't go there today. But there are several, some large, very large properties, names of which we are quite familiar, and there are even small properties that are doing so. Where there's one on the strip here in Montego Bay. That they lost power, they lost certain sections of their roof, and instead of hurrying to try to get ready for the tourists, they instead housed their employees there at the property. And so when we went to inspect them and to say what the nature of the damage, and we said, what's your occupancy? And he said, about 50%. And we said, where are the people from? He said, they're my employees. So that's quite a refreshing view and not talked about often enough.
So why you can't call names, Christopher Jarrett? Help us understand then, for those who don't want to do it secretively, why, who are these players that have been able to do so, and help us understand some of the constraints that prevent other properties from doing the same for their employees.
I think the fiscal constraints, some properties, because they're a chain and they're large enough to be able to absorb the expense. There are some properties that are continuing to pay employees even though the properties are closed, for instance. There are others that are paying them fractions of their pay, their salaries, and continue to do so, although the employees are not at work. And quite a bit of this is happening throughout the industry, and it is just because the industry sees the value of the human resources. And oftentimes you hear it's being said that the sector doesn't care and so on, but this is surely an indication of the fact that that is not true, and that we do care and we value the employees and so on. So it's quite a bit of that has happened and continues to happen. And of course, the care packages that were issued by the hotels outside of the project that was it's implemented by the government. I don't know of any hotel that I had visited during this episode of inspecting, along with Minister and some others, that they were not issuing care packages. All of them were doing it, and we weren't waiting for people to say to us, well, wouldn't it be nice to do something nice for your employees? It was just one of those things that when the hotels closed and the hurricane came, people were saying, well, my home is damaged, and the hotels were saying, well, you can stay with us until you get back on your feet, and so on. So this has been an integral part of how the tourism and hospitality sector has been operating throughout this phase.
You're talking about tourism workers, but there's also a discussion as well broadly, because in the areas that have been hard hit, it's not just tourism interests that have been affected, it's also ordinary Jamaicans. Is there anything that the JHTA has said, or its members have said, you know what, not just tourism workers, other people have been impacted? Can we pull in some people to stay in some of those rooms? Because there needs to be a balance, you might think, between getting that foreign exchange and now that humanitarian assistance to Jamaicans here. Yes, of course. The JHTA has led several fundraisers. We have partnered with American Friends of Jamaica, and we have also done, we're doing a charity donation shortly to the different sectors, so Ocho Rios, Negril, Montego Bay, Kingston. I'm going to be making donations of cash to people related, but outside of the sector, what we had done in our advocacy, with our advocacy team, is reach out to the government for them to allow the importation of products and other things that would help the general public recover. So it was not just for the tourism sector that we requested this, and it was granted. And so it's a wholesome approach. Because we know too that the hotel sector and tourism sector, it has this trickle-down effect, that somebody is working in the hotel, and the person somebody may own a shop. The pan chicken man might be related to somebody who is a waiter, and the manager might be his father, and so on. So there are several arms that are related to this sector in direct and indirect ways, and what we have asked for through the government in allowing these waivers
is to consider that everybody in the island benefits in a direct or indirect way to the what we're doing in tourism.
So that interconnectivity then is something that is often spoken about by tourism interests, and in a time like this we can clearly see it. Big question for you before we go, President Jarrett, because for many people listening, 71% is not 100%. So what date do you expect, by what date do you expect the Jamaican hotel sector to be back to capacity, 100% capacity, especially as there are going to be skilled tourism workers who are going to have to make a living, and we might lose them?
Yeah, we understand that we'll lose some. It's like a war, I suppose. You have casualties, and we're not happy about that. We are trying to do, I think there are programs that the government has to continue with training and preparation, but there are some properties that have already started to secure the employment of these individuals who, without whom they're not going to be able to operate when they reopen. And so we understand there's going to be some migration, both literally out of the country and locally, where they may have gone on to other
So when can we expect 100% for the country to say?
I would say
October this year?
Close to December of this year.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get up to some higher numbers towards the end of the summer.
All right, that is important as you look at that interconnectivity that you spoke of there, President Jarrett, the importance of tourism, not only to the tourism sector, but to the wider country. Thanks so much for joining us, Christopher Jarrett,
Thanks for having me.
President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association. Now, tonight's stories may seem always disconnected. This is the healthcare have to do with what is going on with tourism. But public health requires clear communication. And when economic recovery competes with human need, the common thread is institutional trust. Jamaica's resilience has never come from pretending that these tensions do not exist, but it comes from confronting them honestly, transparently, and with accountability. I'm Jodi-Ann, and on behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you.
Story brought to you by
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations.